Welcome back to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I am playing Premodern at the request of Patreon subscriber Ben, and this is RecSur. That name comes from the two enchantments that define the deck. One is Recurring Nightmare, the other is Survival of the Fittest. They are both enchantments, they are both from Exodus, they are both on the reserve list. One is banned in Legacy, one is banned in Commander, but here, together, they reign. Survival of the Fittest. 1 and a green, you can pay a green, discard a creature card, search your library for a creature, reveal that card, put it into your hand. This is the ultimate toolbox card. You got something for every situation, bunch of creatures that do various things. If you need to discard something from your opponent's hand, kill something, make mana, have a big creature, graveyard hate, have a big creature that also kills something, disenchant, life gain, giant clock to win the game, card advantage over time, card advantage over time. The pieces are there to do all of that if you have time to set up a survival and get things moving around. Recurring Nightmare, 2 and a black, sacrifice a creature, return this enchantment to its owner's hand, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery. This is a very slow, very mana-intensive engine, but it's also nearly unbeatable. Returning the Recurring Nightmare to your hand is part of the cost of activating it, so as long as you don't pass priority after playing it, your opponent can never destroy it. The way the deck is built, you have a bunch of random bodies that should be laying around, Birds of Paradise, Wall of Blossoms, Wall of Roots. These are all just setup cards, and they're all 4-ofs. You should have some of those in play when Recurring Nightmare kicks in the late game, and from there you can just flip Deranged Hermits into Ravenous Baloths and back again, over and over again. Gaia's Cradle is in the deck. When you get going with Hermits, that really kicks on the Recurring Nightmare. You should have cool creatures in your graveyard because of survival. You've played a long game by that point. You've been putting creatures wherever you want them for the whole time. This is a pretty fundamental nuts and bolts Golgari midrange deck. However, it has two insanely busted enchantments at the middle of it that either of which can kick in and completely change the game you're playing. I love decks like this. Tempest Block, that's where Exodus was. That's when I first really started playing Magic. I remember Survival and Recurring Nightmare coming out in packs. I remember them being talked about in magazines in the era. This is deep nostalgia. You also can't play these two cards together basically anywhere except Premodern. This is one of those unique Premodern experiences, and when you're thinking about, do I want to try a format, I try to think about what are the unique experiences I can have in that format, and this is a draw to this particular format. Let's do it. This is Black-Green RecSur from Ben. I'm on the draw in round 1. I am going to keep my hand even though it doesn't have the mana dorks I'd like to dump out. But you do play 4 bird, 4 Wall of Blossoms, 4 Wall of Roots. One thing that is probably going to become apparent as this game develops, or as this league develops, is that Cabal Therapy is an extremely skill-testing Magic card, and we're playing a format that I don't have a lot of deep knowledge about. Insert oops all spells joke here. My opponent's going to have to show me quite a bit before I confidently know what's going on. I'm starting to think this is like Psychotog. I have 2 of the good card, which is Survival. Yeah, they took my Therapy, which means... Alright, I'm just going to send one of these because 1 blue isn't the counterspell mana, and I suspect my opponent's just going to jam Psychotog this turn anyway. Okay, that didn't happen. We got some business going here. How do I want to make this game work? I would love to play a creature and activate Survival this turn, but Cradle only works if there's a creature in play. Would my opponent counterspell Birds of Paradise if I play it? They know about the Cradle, so they're somewhat incentivized to do that. I think this is worth trying. If that flushes out a counterspell, I'll freaking take it. And if they didn't fight over that, let's try Wall of Roots, because I can use Wall of Roots to survive away the Tempting Worm. Okay. Starting to get something going here. Oh, I'm supposed to end step this. Alright, oh cool. I got away with it. I can use Wall of Roots once on my turn and once on my opponent's turn, So I'm going to grab Squee now, and then I'll turn Squee into something else on their turn. Almost missed that. I'm glad they fetched. Okay, I think what I want here is Mesmeric Fiend. I want to know what's going on over there. I can play Fiend and then Squee into something. And my upkeep Squee comes back. That's one of the core engines. Oh, Duress. Multiple sends on this one. All right, I'll start with Duress. All right, 2 Circular Logics, an AK, and a Gush. I want the Gush. That card is brutal. All right, yeah, I'll take the Gush out of the hand. And then I can Cabal Therapy, naming Circular Logic, if I'm willing to sack a creature, which I probably am. I have to pay 5 for Circular Logic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess that makes sense why they didn't try to counter the Duress. Yeah, play out the Swamp. And 1, 2. Is Wall or Bird better or worse going long? I think I believe in Bird more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, Cabal Therapy you. Sacking Wall. I could cast a Circular Logic here. And then I could pay the difference. And then still activate Survival this turn. They're going to lose 2 cards here no matter what. It's just, do they want to make me pay 5 in between? Because either they play Logic, I pay for it, and then I strip the AK, or they let this resolve and I take the 2 Logics. But if they don't Logic, I name Logic, and then I play Mesmeric Fiend and take the rest. Okay, would you like to play 5? Yes. Yes, I would. And I think I actually want to take the Accumulated Knowledge here. I don't want them cantripping, and I can beat up their hand with this Mesmeric Fiend next turn anyway. If they top deck another Knowledge, and I just turned it on, that's going to kind of suck. But I can't play around that here. End step, Survival. This is why this card is banned in Legacy, by the way. This is bullshit, and these cards aren't even that good. I think I would like Withered Wretch, because I want to get their graveyard under control. Circular Logic cares about that. Accumulated Knowledge cares about that. Mesmeric Fiend on the stack. They'll probably Logic it. I'll just let them have it. Fuck off! That's the one card that they had to have. But, I mean, if they don't have a counterspell here, I still just get to look at their 3-card hand. They don't have a discard outlet to turn on Logic. Alright, hit the counterspell. That's fine. Withered Wretch, get in there. And then exile Accumulated Knowledges immediately before my opponent has the ability to fire off any more of that shit. Okay, that's frustrating, but it wasn't devastating. Survival's still online. They just like drew an extra card, whatever. Okay, yeah, they're just tapping out on that one. That was sweet. Okay, I'm definitely playing against Lycatog. Smother comes in. Withered Wretch actually looked pretty important. I'm not going to play Tempting Worm into any deck that has access to Gush. That's just such a beating. I'm going to board out my Tempting Worm. And certainly not bring in the other one. The naturalizes that are in the main deck, Graveyard Hate is pretty effective against what I'm doing. So blowing up a Phyrexian Furnace or something can come up in this matchup. So I'm not going to mess with that too much. Faceless Butcher. This can challenge it in a Tog. Gaining 4 life is not really what this matchup's about. It's very much about discard. Bone Shredder. That's non-black, right? Sure is. Non-artifact, non-black creature. They don't have those. Living Death feels kind of risky here. Ben said this is one of his pet cards, and it's not necessarily that good, but my job in this matchup is to keep the 4 Psychotogs out of play. And if I smother one early or get one discarded early and then have to cast Living Death later, I might actually just die, even if I get a few creatures out of it. I need one more cut. It could be one of the naturalizes, actually, because I still have an Antuco Vigilante. And the one naturalize. It's specifically Graveyard Hate I'm worried about. I could also cut a Recurring Nightmare, because that's not very good early and pretty insane late. Spike Weaver fogging Psychotog is actually pretty effective as well. Alright, I'm going to try the Spike Weaver. Okay. Last minute edition, the old Spike Weaver. I could see Sadistic Hypnotist being solid as well, but resolving a 5-drop in this matchup with a bunch of material left to be using it doesn't feel inspiring. Here's that Premodern mana base kicking in. I think this hand sucks, and I'm going to mulligan it. All right, keep this one. Bottom one of the swamps. All right, well, there's an artifact. We mentioned those are possible. Please duress me, please duress me. Coward. Okay. Swamp, go. I'm still interested in getting duressed, though I don't know if duress is even still in the deck against RecSur, because most of my things are creatures, but my engines are spells. I can see it go either way. Then I get these cool cards like Wall of Blossoms that my opponent is not incentivized to counter, but I am pretty excited that I get to resolve because they do gum up the works against Psychotog. All right, firing off AKs right now before I can do anything. Oh, they're missing land drops over there, and they can't even gush. Big if true. Okay. Now I have to decide if I want to Cabal Therapy twice and resolve a Wall of Blossoms this turn, or stick this Withered Wretch and start working on their graveyard. I think I'd like to Therapy at least once. Okay, Cabal Therapy, and I think I'm going to name Gush. What would you keep the hand on the strength of? Gush is a 4 of, and it's something I'm scared of. All right, Gush. I did get one. They've got 2 Smothers over there. All right, we've got Deep Analysis, Opt, Mana Leak, Intuition, 2 Smothers. Do I even care about the 2 Smothers? I could take the Mana Leak. I guess I care about Smother. And any 2-for-1's pretty exciting. I could take the Opt and make their next draws worse. I can't pass priority here or I lose my Cabal Therapy. All right. I'm going to take the Smothers. Okay, those are gone. And I'll get my other Wall of Blossoms in. Let's keep ripping them. Here's the Opt. They're still trying to hit that land drop. Scry to the bottom. Moment of truth. Yeah! All right, another card placed in the graveyard. This deck's pretty good against duress. Oh my god. It never stops. Okay. I can strip Intuition, see what's going on over there, and then make additional decisions. We got the GGs. I just don't want to play anymore. Fair enough. I think there's still a lot of game to play here because I'm not really turning the corner unless they think Withered Wretch is going to deal 20 here. But I understand that they feel that they're extremely behind, and not wanting to play anymore is a reasonable way to feel. On to the next round. The BoshNRoll channel is brought to you by Tales of Adventure. TOAMagic.com has almost 100,000 unique cards in stock. They offer free track shipping on every order, plus next day or 2-day options when you have an event coming up fast. They offer on-site pickup at major Magic events throughout the US, so you're never scrambling before your tournament. Stop by their booth to buy, sell, or trade at upcoming regional championships, Magic Con, Spotlight Series, and more. I love their selection of individually scanned high-end cards that show you exactly what you're buying. And the best part is saving 5% on every order with promo code BOSH. From Ancestral Recall to Zombie Master, get what you need quickly and in one place at TOAMagic.com. Eternal lives here. I'm on the draw in round 2. I'm going to keep my hand. Opponent has already mulled a 6, which, if I was good with Cabal Therapy, I would be excited about. Mog Fanatic. Okay. Well, I'm probably just going to Therapy, unless I draw something better to curve out with. Okay, so if they had Jackal Pup or Grim Lavamancer, they would have led on that. Lightning Bolt is a card they play 4 of. Sulfuric Vortex I can answer later. I'm just going to Cabal Therapy Lightning Bolt and see what I hit. Oh wow, they didn't lead on Lavamancer. Shows me what I know. Okay. Reckless Assault deals 4 damage to any target. Or Reckless Abandon. Incinerate, Reckless Abandon, Lavamancer. Sure. Alright, there's Lava Dad. Duress. I think Duress is for later, and I should just play Wall of Blossoms now. Just trying to put something in front of these beats. If they want a Reckless Abandon or Incinerate to finish off a wall, I accept those terms. I think this wall in play is worth more than flashing back Cabal Therapy would be. Block one of these. Doesn't matter which. Another Fanatic. Oh. Well. My opponent hand, I know, is at least 2 spells. And spells don't kill a 5/5, or don't beat a 5/5. I have access to 4 mana here if I lead on Wall of Roots. So I could go Wall of Roots plus Wall of Blossoms, or I could go Wall of Roots plus Duress, or I could go Duress plus Tempting Worm, or Wall of Roots plus Tempting Worm. Do I want to roll the dice against this worm? If they had a land, it would be in play. They could have drawn more creatures. If they put in Sulfuric Vortex, that's a bummer. I guess I just want to duress and see what the hullabaloo might be about here. This will save me a bunch of damage no matter what, but it also might save me from killing myself with Tempting Worm. We're working so hard for a Tarmogoyf in this format. I'm duressing my opponent, and this is sitting on the stack like they're thinking about responding. I don't know what card they could have here. Even Fire Blast would cost 2 mountains to think about. Maybe they're just double queuing, maybe they're making a sandwich. Hard to tell on Magic Online. Okay, there is a Grim Lavamancer over there, and they've come up with a Lightning Bolt since the last time we had that conversation. Reckless Abandon does the most damage, but costs them something. Incinerate costs twice as much mana as Lightning Bolt and does the same thing, so it's Bolt or Abandon. They've got plenty of creatures over there. Yeah, and Abandon plus 1 Mog Fanatic kills a 5/5, where Bolt takes both Mog Fanatics. I'm going to take Abandon. And now I have the interesting follow-up thing of Flashback Therapy, taking Grim Lavamancer, and then jamming Tempting Worm into play, which they can kill, but it'll cost them their Fanatics plus Lightning Bolt. I could also just play Tempting Worm, ignore the Grim Lavamancer, because the second one doesn't do a lot. They're not going to have enough cards in the graveyard to fuel that thing forever, but they do have Bolt plus Mog to finish off. I could Flashback Wall of Blossoms, take the Lightning Bolt, and then play Tempting Worm. Or I could just add more walls to the board and deal with that next turn. I think I'm going to Flashback Cabal Therapy and take that Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt. Put that away. And then I think I'd actually like Wall of Blossoms in play, and I'll think about the Tempting Worm again next turn, because there's a good chance they use their mana to play Grim Lavamancer this turn anyway. I'm still at 18 life. I'm doing pretty good here. Okay, attacking with Lavamancer is good news. That makes it more likely they're going to spend their mana playing the other one out. Okay, and now Tempting Worm. Doesn't really cost me anything to deploy. I'm going to Wall of Blossoms first. Playing Wall of Roots doesn't save me any mana this turn. The big difference between a 5/5 and a 0/4 on this board is their creatures start to die as they shove into it. Like here, they can just push into my 0-power creatures willy-nilly, and I absorb some of the damage, but they're still scaling, they're still pushing damage. The Tempting Worm will eat the Grim Lavamancer that attacks. It will eat a Mog Fanatic or force a sack, and we'll slowly get control of the game. Recurring Nightmare, that's pretty cool. All right, Tempting Worm, do not put in Sulfuric Vortex, please. Please put in Ball Lightning. Seal of Fire. Okay, so they did get a permanent off it. Could have been worse, also could have been a lot better. If they draw Mountain right now and they're able to Incinerate plus Seal of Fire to finish off my Tempting Worm, that's a bummer, because then the combat situation I described is not favorable for me anymore. But we are starting to move into the Recurring Nightmare Deranged Hermit phase of the game, where I will have control of the situation. All right, no attacks, no plays. I love that. And I love drawing these basic lands that don't hurt me as well. Okay, if I attack for 5, I'm going to have 5 1/1s in play, or 1 1/1 and 4 2/2s, but they can kill the 2, or debuff the 2/2s at will. I think I should be attacking. All right, Big Wormy getting in there. Big Wormy style. Yeah, block ping is just fine. But like I said, we are working our way through the random material they have on the board. And second main, Big Druid. And at 6 mana, I can Recurring Nightmare twice in a turn. I can play it, flip a wall into Hermit, then flip Hermit into wall, or just whatever. Wow, they didn't Lavamancer in the end step. I think my opponent's having some connectivity issues. They were in and out of the game a couple times. You can see they're almost 4 minutes behind on their clock, despite playing mono red and making very few decisions this game. I don't know if they clicked through in the end step on purpose, or if that was an oops based on a flickering connection. I'm not going to pay for this Hermit because it's better off in my graveyard. I am going to attack for 9 and see how my opponent would like to respond. In Blockworm, Shoot a Squirrel is there with Mog Fanatic. They could double block plus Incinerate, or Seal of Fire plus Incinerate, finish off the worm. There's a bunch of stuff they could do here, but all of it involves them losing their precious material and also not dealing damage to my face. Oh, they are going face instead of picking off squirrels. All right. The race is on then. How do I want to do this? I could Nightmare twice, or I could Duress them and Nightmare. I'm going to Duress, because that'll either cost them 2 Lavamancer activations, or they'll lose the Incinerate. And either way, this is damage over the longer game. I can still do what I need to do. All right, yeah, all right. Stripped of Vortex, which is one of the cards I'm most afraid of in life. Wall of Roots get in. Just going to dump out my hand here. Nightmare. I'm going to turn Deranged Hermit out of one of the Wall of Blossoms. I actually want more scrolls to attack with. I'm not worried about more blockers. I'm trying to deal 15 before they can deal 11 here. And there's 6 on board. There is 8 on board. They're going to have to kill Deranged Hermit, though, because I'm going to bring it back before combat, and that doubles the damage I'm dealing. Okay. Nightmare. Flip Hermit out of this Wall of Blossoms. And then I'm going to attack with everything. They're going to have to kill my Hermit, and then I'll just bring it back second main. Yep. Seal of Fire, saving me a bunch of damage. All right, opponent goes to 2. Recurring Nightmare. They have no cards in hand, so I don't need to leave up mana with Wall of Roots to Cabal Therapy. Okay, I'm at 9. They can deal 6. They're trying to draw Fire Blast here, exactly. All right, I got to fade Fire Blast and I win. Let's go. Don't blast me, bro. Okay. That game was still down to a top deck. Even after they mulliganed, I discarded 3 different cards from their hand, and they missed their land drop for a million turns. Okay, there are targets for Naturalize in this deck, but not so many that I want to do more Naturalizes. I have the 3 that are in already. Ravenous Baloth is great. Smother is good. I could bring in another Tempting Worm. It is, are you ready? Tempting to do that. It's just so big, and their creatures are so bad, and they're probably in play already, but they do have things like Sulfuric Vortex and Curse Scroll and whatever that they could jam into play if the game looks different than that game did look. Not really attacking their graveyard. This can tax a late game Grim Lavamancer, but mostly whatever. Mesmeric Fiend could buy me information and time, which are both important to me. Spike Feeder can fog in the late game, but by the time Spike Feeder is down and I'm fogging, I think I'm more worried about burn than I am fog. Faceless Butcher is a 2-3, dominating the battlefield. Nightmare is pretty slow, although it did come into play that game because the game ended up being slow. Like, Genesis is slow and Recurring Nightmare. These are the slowest engines, and that's not really what this matchup's about. I like all the development. I like all the discard. I like all the blockers. Survival's great. In Ravenous Baloth plus Genesis is an endgame engine. It's a very expensive endgame engine, but it's also very good. Maybe I'll leave Genesis in and not bring in the second Tempting Worm. Or what did I just do? Okay, yeah, that was the extra Tempting Worm. I lost track of the second one for a second. Okay. I am going to leave Genesis in so I can have a late game recurring life gain thing. I'll keep this. It develops my plan very quickly, even though it doesn't specifically interact with my opponents. All right, Bird of Paradise. I don't expect this to live. I will not block with it. Seal of Fire. Bird is dead. Long live Bird. Mono Red is not well known for destroying enchantments. I'm just going to run this survival out here. And Step Bolt, I'm at 15. Jackal Pup doing its job. Ball Lightning, hell yeah. All right, they're showing me what this deck looks like when it's doing what it wants to do versus what it was doing last game. Okay, I'm going to survive away Birds of Paradise and get, I think I have to get, I can Wall of Blossoms put it in front of Pup, but that could burn me out. I could Wall of Roots. That's a blocker that lets me survival again. All right, it's Wall of Roots. All right, Wall of Roots. And I think I want to go for Squee right now. It's a little risky to give that 4 toughness instead of 5, knowing that they have Fire Blast and Reckless Abandon in the deck. But I think if I survive this turn, that investment's going to be really good. Up, attack, block, end step. This is a 3 toughness creature with 2 damage on it. Doesn't take much to finish it off. Squee, come back. You can blame it all on me. All right, Ravenous Bee. I'm going to get this down first, so if they try to burn me out over top of this duress, I can at least gain 4. Fire Blast puts me to 3. I have to accept that. And Mountain is the card in hand. All right, I am going to gain 4 now, before they can top deck Lightning Bolt and finish me off. Wall of Roots is going to die this turn, but it's done its job. It's going to save me 4 life and make 4 mana. Ooh, no attack. That's very strange. Like, clearing the Wall of Roots is almost free there. Okay, I'm not going to complain. I think I'm too slow for Genesis here. I might be able to set that up next turn. And I could ram Tempting Worm into play. Deranged Hermit's probably better than that, though. I'm out of ways to gain life. All right, yeah, I'm going to get a Hermit. Squee returns to me. Hermit. Not worried about Jackal Pup anymore. I'm worried about it getting burned out to my face now. Okay, the race is on, I suppose. At 7, I don't love that. I am going to delete my wall to survive with it one more time. I could get Vigilante and blow up the Vortex. Probably have to do that. That's a 5 mana play, and that is what I have. Okay. I cannot pay for Hermit and expect to live. And that Forest was a pretty good draw. I'm going to attack with 3 squirrels because I don't want Jackal Pup to get to trade with my 3/2. That's actually a pretty big creature here. When this is turn face up. All right, cast face down with Morph. I'm going to let my opponent take 2 damage from their Vortex before I destroy it. I'm at 5. Plenty of sequences that can finish me off here. They have exactly enough cards in their graveyard for Barbarian Ring. So I'm chilling over here at 3 life. Opponent's at 14. 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Getting Deranged Hermit doesn't finish my opponent off. As predicted, this Genesis engine way too slow to get Baloth back. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm a mana short even if I try to go for it. I think I should just try to kill them. There's just nothing else I can actually do here. I'm going to get the other Hermit and try to punch their head off. And the cool thing about Jackal Pup is it doesn't block, at least not in a way that is functional. And it could trade with my 3/2 so it doesn't hit them again. But it can't actually stop damage from coming through. They could kill Hermit to cut the clock in half, but I think they should really be focused on killing me here. And, alright. Moment of truth. Can they draw a way to deal 3 damage outside of combat? They have lots of ways to do it. But we faded! They have conceded! Hell yeah! What a tight battle. Both games were close. The first game, I was ahead the entire time, but they did have a Hail Mary to kill me at the end. This game, they were ahead basically the entire time, and I just survived by exactly a lightning bolt's worth of damage. On to the next round.
This video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, the easiest way to build Magic decks online. Moxfield supports over 30 formats, including Legacy and everything else you'll see on this channel. There's multiple customizations so you can interact with your deck how you want. Views such as text, grid, or stacks. And groupings like type, subtype, color, color identity, even artist. The site offers light mode, dark mode, and so much more. However you want to see your deck, Moxfield can provide it for you. Follow my Moxfield to keep up with the channel and what I'm playing in paper. I'll see you there.
I am on the play in round 3. I'm going to keep this hand. Got my walls. Most opening hands will have walls because you play so many of them. But I got them. I'm not going to rip off a Blind Therapy on the play. I don't know what it would take, what level of confidence, what knowledge about your opponent it would take to actually make that play in this format, but I'm not there. All right, another opponent straight up jacking it. Okay, thinking about sequencing now. Wall of Roots, 0/5. If they use Lightning Bolt to finish it off, I guess I'm happy with that. And then I can still do 2 things next turn, but I can do more things next turn if I untap with more mana. And I don't really need a cantrip. I know I have stuff to do for a while. Okay, yeah, I think the Wall of Roots makes sense. I have played against this red-green deck before, or at least a red-green deck before. They have less burn and more creatures than the other burn decks, but they're still pretty aggressive. That's at least what I think is going on. Giant Growth is the same thing as Lightning Bolt here. I don't care about either. I've made my bed. Float a red, or a green scoreboard. Got your ass. Okay, sure. Trading almost anything for 3 life in these aggressive matchups is mostly fine. And unless I draw like another Wall of Roots, I'm casting Cabal Therapy this turn. But I have to think about what my opponent might have. Quirion Dryad is in these decks. So is Sylvan Library. But I think that my opponent would have developed either of those rather than pushing my Wall of Roots into the graveyard. That's just not better than either of those things. They have 4 Incinerates. Grim Lavamancer, Mog Fanatic. I think Incinerate or Call of the Herd are the cards that I should name with Cabal Therapy. And I'm going to start with Incinerate, because I'm actually pretty good against Call of the Herd. Incinerate. Okay. Blasted Army over there. They've got Fire Blast, Lightning Bolt. I didn't name Lightning Bolt because they've already used one. Wall of Blossoms. It's weird they didn't develop that Mog Fanatic. At least I think it's weird. But I'm not the pre-modern expert here. Okay, it would take Lightning Bolt to finish off Wall of Blossoms, which would be the same thing as if I tried to discard it. So I'm just going to chill and not flashback Therapy. Blast turn can't happen for another turn. That's the scariest thing they've got over there. And I have another Therapy in hand. They can't even cast Fire Blast. Oh, fetching a Forest. This Fire Blast is impossible to deploy. Wild Mongrel. I might have taken that one if it was in their hand. And this is clearly a different deck than the Quirion Dryad list that I was more familiar with. Okay. Big Times. Oh, that card's so nice. All right, well, I could take multiple cards out of their hand, but I can't get onto the board if I do that. I can play Masticore, but I can't hold up Regenerate. I could sack the Wall of Blossoms that's in play, drop Masticore. I would take Lightning Bolt from the hand. Just don't block Wild Mongrel if it attacks. And all right, I'm going to Cabal Therapy, naming Lightning Bolt, and then jam this Masticore. Lightning Bolt. And it's time to masticate. I don't mind discarding Naturalize. I don't think it's going to have a target anytime soon. This Fire Blast is unplayable. Mog Fanatic, even if they draw Lightning Bolt, they can't play Mog Fanatic plus Bolt. Wild Mongrel can attack here. I'm certainly not going to block, but the Jackal Pup is at home. Yeah, this could be 7 damage, but then they're Hellbent. Yeah, I'm not interacting with this. Okay, Masticore discards Naturalize. And I have Untapped with Regenerate available. Living Death. All right, well, there is a long-term plan, I suppose. Cabal Therapy you. I probably want to take Call of the Herd at this point, though it so barely matters. Call of the Herd. They've drawn a Jackal Pup. Actually, this Living Death is pretty horrific because Mongrel could discard their cards in response. Okay, I'm going to pass, and my plan is leave up block Regenerate, and if they don't do that, I'll ping the pup. I did draw the land, and it is red. Attacking with Mongrel. If they drew a way to kill Masticore, they could wait for me to regenerate, then in response, kill it again. I don't have 4 mana up, and I'm never going to. I deal 1 to pup, which also deals 1 to you. And I'm going to discard Living Death. With this Mongrel in play, Living Death is not a good card to cast. My opponent would end up ahead at the end of it. I discard Living Death. Wall of Blossoms. A welcome addition. Any cantrip, so I can advance the situation with Masticore is a good one. Birds of Paradise. I don't think that's better than Masticore. Right, attack for 4. I have a different blocker now. I'm not going to get mongreled out. And pass the turn. If they want to discard 2 cards to kill Wall of Blossoms at any point, I accept. Maybe the Living Death is better than I thought, because if they get to 4 mana and play out the Blastoderm, that's something I have to think about. An easy block here. Anything they do to try to finish this off is fine with me. Discarded Fire Blast. Discarded Jackal Pup. Okie dokie. I accept. I'll discard Birds of Paradise. Another Hermit. Not ideal. I can't wait forever here. I'm going to attack with Masticore. And then I'm going to deal 2 to Wild Mongrel. I'm at least going to make them discard a card on my turn. It saves me some combat damage and gets their hand smaller and smaller. Discarded the Blastoderm. Okay, gave up on that one. That's the card I was most afraid of in their hand. I wonder if this is a Fires of Avamaya deck, or what's going on over there. All right, Masticore is tapped out of Regenerate, but if they come up with 4 damage from their hand, that's fine. All right, Naturalize, sure. That card's good in the format, I've heard. Looking for mana to get my Hermits rolling. And Mongrel is only 1 card left in hand over there. All right, deck, just don't crap out, and we're still fine. Ugh. That's kind of a crap out, but I will still duress them in case there's something good over there. It's Blastoderm. All right, we're crapping out a little bit. A land for them is devastating. That plays, yeah, that's the Blastoderm now and the Call of the Herd next turn. Now I suddenly wish I had Living Death, but they still have a Blastoderm and a Jackalpup in the graveyard. Nah, the Living Death would be a better rip here. Opponent's at 6. I'm at 16. Deranged Hermit is really good against Blastoderm, if I can get it into play. Big green dumbasses are not very good against walls of tokens. All right, well, that can get the little guys under control and then gain me some life. It's worse than a land, but it's a pretty solid play otherwise. And fading the creature dies when you can't remove a fade counter, not when the last counter is taken off of it. Vanishing, it's when the last counter is taken off of it. I know that's not confusing and totally normal. Okay, they played out an extra land here, which is stats on Wild Mongrel, so that was an interesting decision. Right, I'm going to let Blastoderm in once. I would really like to get that under control with Deranged Hermit and not lose my Veloth over it. All right, well, Wall of Blossoms. It's another 4 toughness creature. Okay, there's the land for next turn. Game on. Okay. I will chump Blastoderm with Wall of Blossoms. An opponent has 3/4 damage outside of that, and they lose an element to make that attack. Okay, block and block. 3/4. I think it's actually better to block Wild Mongrel, because then they have to discard a card and sack Mog Fanatic to kill Ravenous Baloth instead of just sack Mog Fanatic. I'm functionally at 3, which now creates a sub-game playing around Lightning Bolt with this Mog Fanatic on board. All right, but now combat doesn't matter. Okay, we're in there. I think I'm good to attack. My opponent's at 6. I'm pushing this turn. Okay, here we go. This is Blastoderm's last turn to live. I hope my opponent does not have 2 Lightning Bolts in their hand. That forest can't be 2 Lightning Bolts, unless they're a big cheater. If they can give Trample, that's not ideal. Okay, I'm going to block, block, block. All right, yeah, I was trying to think if I have to play around anything that grants Trample, but opponent just conceded. I was trying to figure out if I even could play around something that grants Trample. Okay, Smother, Spike Weaver coming in. Faceless Butcher, pretty good. This is definitely not a Tempting Worm matchup. I'm going to cut the one I have. Graveyard Hate does not seem that important. They don't seem to have a lot of hits for Duress. And they had some burn and stuff, but there were also a bunch of creatures. I think I can shave 1 Duress without being too bummed out about it. I didn't see artifacts or enchantments. I think I believe in Recurring Nightmare. This game is likely to get grindy. I think I do want the Living Death. This importantly has 2 modes. It's Reanimate Everything, but also Wrath of God. And if my opponent curves out and has a bunch of cool creatures and I can sweep their board, that's probably good enough. And then I'll just deal with whatever comes out of the bottom. I'm going to shave a Naturalize until they show me a reason to play it. I still have 2 and one of them's tutorable. I like all my walls. I like my Hermits. I like Genesis. I could make myself less weak to Graveyard Hate by cutting a Nightmare. I still have the tutorable Genesis and the Nightmare that I could find. And I don't want to see this early. Yeah, I'm going to try it like this. I'll keep this. It's got a 0/5 and a pseudo removal spell. If they play Call of the Herd, Faithless Butcher is an all-the-way removal spell. Opponent mold is 6. And I just noticed they're playing 61 cards. Lavamancer. Genesis, right on time. You definitely want it in your opening hand. That's what it's for. It's primarily a 5 mana 4/4, and then it has some flavor text. Rancor on Grim Lavamancer. It will deal 2 extra damage a turn one way or another. Firebolt. Alright, opponents bring in the ruckus here. Rancor is nice. Makes perfect sense it's in the deck. Didn't see it game 1 though. A Wall of Roots, get in front of this thing. Survival makes this hand go crazy starting next turn. I would love if my opponent just played Call the Herd and passed. They tapped a red, then untapped it. Still gonna block. Okay, played a Grim Lavamancer, and there's a green in the pool. Oh, did they click on the wrong card in their hand? What just happened? That was weird. It should not be like that. Okay, I could jam Faceless Butcher onto this board, but it doesn't do a lot. It does make them redeploy the Rancor somewhere else. And it's a 2/3 blocker. That's a speed bump though, but I do have a 0/4. Okay, I'm gonna play Butcher. Exile the Lavamancer that has Rancor on it. Rancor falls off, then goes back to the hand. At least taxing their mana every turn to make them play the game they want to play. Feels like a starting point. Forest from hand. It's turn 4. That was just drawn, or else it would have been in play last turn. Okay, they dealt 2 damage to me, main phase. What is going on? This all seems strange to me, but I'm not in charge. Opponent is. Survival of the Fittest. Activate it, discarding Genesis. Do I want to get Squee active or just play something? I want to get Squee active. I'm not under enough pressure to be worried about anything else. Attack. This thing's not blocking. My opponent has Rancor in their hand. There's no 1-drop black creature I can tutor for, so I'll hold my horses on Squee. Rancor's back. I'm not going to block. I guess I could save 2 damage here and still fire off Survival. Yeah, I'll do that. They seem to be trying to burn me out. Okay, Masticore makes this thing quite bad. Bone Shredder can just bonk it. Spike Weaver invalidates it. I think I want Bone Shredder. Shred those bones. I lose my wall, which would have been good for 2 more mana this game, but saving 2 life in the spot where opponent seems to be struggling seems okay to me. I'll get Squee back. And then if I play wall, like I could pay 3 to get wall back. No, that's no. Just no. No, thank you. I'll shred some bones. Rancor goes back, but the creature carrying it's gone, and there's no immediate way to redeploy it. They could incinerate Faceless Butcher in the end step and get a Lavamancer back, or bolt it, or whatever. Do I want to turn Squee into Birds of Paradise right now? Is that a good play? I kind of think it is. With Genesis running, 1 extra mana isn't the worst. And Squee going, I can be a little bullish about losing creatures. I'm probably not gonna pay Bone Shredder's Echo, because then Genesis can start recurring it. Alright, they just don't want to play anymore. That was kind of a weird game, but I'll take it. The engine's kicked in, sideboard cards kicked in. On to the next round. The BoshNRoll channel is proudly partnered with the Resleevables. In this YouTube series, hosts Patrick Sullivan and Patrick Chapin go set by set through Magic's past, leveraging their decades of experience as Pro Tour players and game designers to analyze the good, the bad, and the ugly of Magic's history. Each episode is a deep dive into the facts, mechanics, cycles, trivia, decks of the time, and historical context of the set. The hosts dig into notable cards of the era and their lasting impact today. Each set gets an award show where the hosts pick their favorite cards for categories such as Best, Worst, and Weirdest. And finally, give a letter grade for the set's overall success. Whether you want a history lesson or a nostalgia hit, The Resleevables has it at youtube.com/theresleevables. I'm on the draw in round 4. I'm going to keep this Tempting Worm. Going to be a 0 or a 10 depending on the matchup. But I like Wall of Blossoms. I like Cabal Therapy eventually. I'm on the draw, so I might even be able to fire off Therapy on turn 1 if my opponent does something really telling. A Forest, a Fyndhorn Elves. Do I just fire off Cabal Therapy on Priest of Titania? I think I'm going to do that. This could just be some Ponza deck and not Elves at all. Ooh, they are Elves, but Survival of the Fittest over there. It's Survival Elves versus me. A Ranger, Forest, Survival. Okay, Wall of Blossoms. Get in there. Ball therapy, target you, just trying to reduce their options. Caller of the Claw. Just take literally anything out of that hand. Second survival's pretty bad. Okay. Yeah, the first survival is Unbound, though the second one doesn't do much. I assume their deck has lots of creatures in it, but I'm going to hope that they take a minute or two to draw them. I mean, they didn't cast a spell. Might be 5/5 time. Jam it in. If they do have a creature, okay, just put a land and survival into play. That's fine. Cool. That was a little bit risky, because if they had any creature, they could have tutored anything and then put it in off of Worm. But they are currently top decking against this 5/5. Wall of Blossoms. And I'll take one for the other Wall of Blossoms. That was a lot of whiffs. Yeah, the second survival now matters because I have gotten to the point where I could Vigilante one of them. And if they draw any creature, I might lose on the spot. They have so much green mana. This mountain indicates anger is in the deck to give the squad haste. However it is they win, it could be available soon. Deck for 5. I'll play a Morph. This can kill one of the survivals, which doesn't really matter, but surprise 3/2 might be helpful. I really want my own survival or my Withering Wretch. Uh-oh, here we go. Game on! The chain begins. All right, tutored Squee. Squee tutors probably Anger. There's 5 green mana left right now. More with Quarian Ranger and Finhorn Elves, so it's actually 7. And maybe playing this guy out didn't make sense, because if I top deck survival, I can't start the chain, which is pretty bad. But it does actually... It doesn't change the clock. It might. I don't know. I don't know where things are going to happen here. All right. Anger discarded. Squad has haste now. Genesis arrived. All right, we got a setup turn. Ranger, untap Finhorn Elves. Or are we just casting Genesis? Oh, you have Squee. It doesn't matter. Okay, no, they're floating mana and then looting away the Genesis. Spike Weaver. I do have a Bone Shredder in my deck. All right, I'm going to morph this up, destroy one of the survivals. I have Naturalizes in my deck. That's an out here. Something good? Wall of Roots is not it. Okay, I'm going to attack with both of these creatures. They're probably going to Fog. Yep. And I am going to hold back this Wall of Roots in case I draw a survival. But I don't think I'm getting another turn. All right, squeeze back. Genesis is targeting Caller of the Claw. They are using it. Well-Wisher, icky. That's good for 3, could be 6 life. Yeah, this game's going to be grindy. If I can rip an out to the survival, we can get through this still. Or even Withered Wretch taking the Squee and the Genesis and the Anger could get this game into a spot where I can play it. But I'm 2 full turns behind an active survival engine. Doesn't feel great. If I had known the matchup, I would have named survival with that first therapy, but regular elves, I don't think plays survival, and just seeing Finhorn Elves doesn't tell me the whole story. All right, there's Llanowar Elves. Still got Caller of the Claw in hand. All right, deck, big rips. That's not a big rip. Okay, Cabal Therapy you. They could flash in Caller of the Claw in response for no value, and it's a creature out of their hand. They could survival in response, and I can just take whatever they survival for because it remains face up. The bad news is, basically none of this matters at all, because they could just Genesis and Squee all these cards back and continue. But I haven't freaking died on the last 2 turns, both of which my opponent had access to a full deck's worth of survivaling and 7+ mana. My Caller of the Claw makes 0 bears. Cabal Therapy names +2 mace. Oh no, that's not it anymore? Alright. Oh, it's not in the format. It feels cocky to name Abandon Hope. What's a good one? Agonizing Demise? It's Swamp from hand, and I'm just going to pass, keep 2 creatures back. That lets me survival twice if I rip it. And I don't think attacking makes sense anymore. They can Fog if they even care, but they can also just gain 10 life at instant speed. I'm not ahead of any part of that. And I might need blockers to not die when they decide to turn the corner. Wirewood Symbiote, return to the hand alongside Squee. Survival. Deranged Hermit, here we go. Now they're going to try to win. About time. These hasty squirrels are pretty serious, and Deranged Hermit is an elf. Wirewood Symbiote can pick it up and put it down, generating bonus squirrels, and this game should not take very long from here. I think at this point, even if I do answer the survival or the graveyard, the ship has sailed. Symbiote. They're doing tricks, floating mana. They picked up something that was not Deranged Hermit to untap their Llanowar Elf. That's exciting. Found a third survival. Finally a break. Alright, I didn't get attacked to death. Cabal Therapy, not very good. I'm going to attack with Tempting Worm and see if I can get them to block bounce Deranged Hermit, but there's a Cabal Therapy here already. Yeah, they don't even have to do this. Okay, they did bounce the Deranged Hermit, though, which is what I was trying to get. Not that it matters with Genesis around. Therapy you. Deranged Hermit. Caller of the Claw in the hand. Yep, whatever. I'm going to pass the turn and let them figure out how many hermits they can deranged me with. Is this what I've been doing to people? Am I the baddies? This has felt completely hopeless ever since turn 2 when they resolved their survival. Survivaling away Squee. I have my Living Death. If I top deck Living Death, I'm still losing, but okay, I think they're just going to kill me here. The Priest of Titania has haste. They could tap it multiple times. Each tap of it casts Hermit. Oh, a second Hermit. Okay. That was just off the top. They didn't tutor for that one. I think this is enough 3/3s. I'll line up my blocks just in case, but I think this is plenty. Yep, super dead. Okay. Spike Weaver for sure. Smother for sure. Engineered Plague for sure. Faceless Butcher seems slow, but might be good enough. It might be hard to actually find what I need to make this sideboard plan work. Tempting Worm. I like Living Death. I like Genesis. I think I might not like Recurring Nightmare. And the Naturalize is, like, obviously they have survivals, but do they have anything else? The one Withered Wretch makes sense to me to break up Anger. That wasn't out. I was drawing 2 that whole time. I don't have any 1/1 elves to board out. Oh yeah, I do, actually. But it impacts the board. Engineered Plague is symmetrical. Bone Shredder's important. Ravenous Baloth. I mean, 4 life doesn't seem like what this matchup is hinging on. It's hinging on, am I freaking dead or not? Completely smoked or not? Masticore seems really good against their deck if we get into any sort of mid-game. The game's not really about chip shots either. Like Wall of Blossoms, I could see cutting one of those. And that gets me all of this stuff in. Okay, I'm going to try it like this. Okay. I will keep this because I don't think Elves is going to have a lot of creature removal. Though they are red Elves. I hope that's just to support Anger, and I don't get cooked by going all in on this Birds of Paradise. There's 21 lands in this deck, plus 3 more birds and 3 more walls. That is about half my deck is mana right now. Okay, passing the turn. Mesmeric Fiend. I could develop Wall, or I could Fiend and see what's going on over there. I think I want to Fiend. Okay, Kamal Fist of Kroza, Naturalized Survival, Squee. I'd like to take the Survival here, and their hand is kind of mid after that. Okay. And my hand is missing land drops, that's mid as well. 2 Wooded Foothills, a Forest. Okay, I could Cabal Therapy now. Kamal is a way later problem. Caller of the Claw is a generic 2/2. Alright, I'm going to play Wall of Roots now and develop my plan. I guess I could have attacked with Mesmeric Fiend first. Caller of the Claw costs 3. They do have a 2/2 flash in their hand. This might be the last time I attack with this thing. But I'll get the point where I can. End step fetching Mountain. Okay. Quarian Ranger, that's an elf. Gaia's Cradle. That's an elf. Okay. Hook, line, and sinker. I'd still like to draw a land, but this is going to be a really good turn. Okay, black, 2, 3, Engineered Plague, name elf. Bang. That was double Doomblade plus Stone Rain, because this Gaia's Cradle now doesn't do anything. And it was in a spot where Caller of the Claw wasn't there to replace all those with bears. Symbiote, not an elf. Okay, I can go Wall of Roots, Birds of Paradise, Cabal Therapy. If they naturalize in response, I name probably Caller of the Claw. If they don't do that, I'll name Naturalize. Okay, elves are big again. Caller of the Claw. And is Kamal and Squee, we knew that. I am not going to attack with Mesmeric Fiend. Giving them survival back is not worth their wired symbiote to me, when their hand is just 2 survival bullets. Right, they might play Squee out here just as necessary action. Yep. I love that. Okay, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Enough to do what I want to do. I can Faceless Butcher Squee out of the game entirely, or I could take out Wirewood Symbiote. I think I want Squee out of the game more than Symbiote. Black, black, 1, 2, Butcher, take Squee, play another bird, and I'm going to take Kamal out of the hand while I still can. I'll sack this smaller Wall of Roots. That is the Fist of Kroza. All right, there it goes. And now I'm going to pass. All in. What do you got? Uh-oh. Got something. A morph. Is this Birchlore Rangers? What morphs are in this deck? I don't know because it's pre-modern. Normally I'd pretty confidently not be worried about that. Maybe this was Legacy, but that's not the format we're playing. Okay, bang. Deranged Hermit. I could attack with Faceless Butcher. It would trade off with the morph and they'd get Squee back. Maybe that was a good attack, actually. Priest of Titania. They're starting to do stuff. That's a pretty good blocker, because they can block bounce with Symbiote. Okay, no Echo on this one, because I have another one coming. Smother, interesting. 3, 4, 5. If I do it like this, I can play Smother on my opponent's turn. If I use Wall of Roots instead of Birds of Paradise to do that. Yeah, suddenly interested in attacking with Faceless Butcher after not doing it last turn. Messy, but I'm not going to compound mistakes here. Block. Is this a bigger morph? Something like a real thing? The pre-modern card? Antuco Vigilante. Alright, so it's just a trade, but it does give them their Squee back, and they're at 8 life. I think I'm okay with that. I'm not going to Smother right away, because they need a good draw here anyway. And the card I'd like to Smother, which is Priest of Titania, they can just bounce anyway. Okay, scooped it up. Cool. Powerful sideboard card for me, getting me ahead there. Can I get 1 Nightmare back into the deck? That feels pretty clutch for the late game. But am I even playing to the late game? Does that even make sense? Duress is a tricky one, because bringing those back in would double my answers to survival before it even resolves, but it just doesn't hit anything else in their deck. It's like the survivals and naturalizes. And the Engineered Plague mostly does its job on arrival. If you kill 2 or 3 things and then they naturalize, you just got a 4 for 1. Okay, I think I am happy with this configuration, and it's what I got. Let's go. Maybe I'll play a game where I get a survival. Okay, mana to play, answer to survival, answer to a creature. Lawnmower Elves, a forest, and pass. Okay, survival confirmed. I'm just going to pass with mana up and see what they survival for in the end step. Hopefully they just get Squee here, then I can naturalize the survival. And oh, they had Squee. Fuck my life. All right. Well, that makes things more complicated. Yeah, I was hoping to just strand them with Squee in their hand. All right, naturalize this before the anger goes anywhere. All right, please don't have 2. But I am holding the Withered Wretch, and I can play it. All right, they could just cast anger here. 2/2 haste, get in. Yavimaya Granger, this draws a card. Or no, what does this one do? Oh, this Rampant Growths. That's pretty strong. Llanowar Elves getting in. Squee and Anger are 2 of the cards in their hand. I'm going to lead on Wall of Blossoms. Because before I play my land drop, I have a number of 1-mana spells in my deck I might draw here. That wasn't any of them, but okay, I'll pass. They have an Echo to pay for if they want to keep this thing. Seems they do. All right, making land drops. Okay, they were definitely relying on the survival, and now that it's gone, they're just in garbage mode. But I do need to answer garbage mode. A Wall of Blossoms. Get in there. Do I want to put the Wretch down? or hold up Smother. I think I'd rather hold up Smother. I can't use the Wretch anyway. If they suddenly come up with a survival, I'm just in trouble. A Morph. If I try to smother that and it's Nantuko Vigilante, then I get nothing. I'm just going to kill the Granger because I know I can. And I hope they don't have any serious big O's as morphs. Okay, Color of the Claw. This gets a 2/2 bear. Fair enough. And now I know their hand is Squee and Anger. Oh, game on then. I've got a bunch of 2/2s as well. All right, now we're just slugging it out in combat. If somebody draws an engine, the other one's in trouble. Well-wisher, that's not an engine. That's just wasting time. I accept. I am going to pay Echo because this game is getting long. Ooh, okay. Big deal. Squirrels, take a chunk. All right, trading bear for squirrel is good news for me because this well-wisher would wash out the squirrels over time anyway, and just getting anything out of them while I can. I like it. Llanowar Elves. Well-wisher's good for 4 here. Therapy. They have Squee and Anger, and I know both. Withered Wretch is my only creature, and if this is Nantuko Vigilante, what would that chain look like? It would look like discard Wretch, lose survival and response. Bad news, everyone. Okay. I don't know that I want to do that. Squirrels go in. They can wash out 2 of these just by tapping Well-wisher, but I am pushing damage. I could therapy the Anger and then Wretch it. I could therapy both. I really want this Withered Wretch is the problem. Maybe I shouldn't. Okay, I am going to therapy, and I'm going to name it Anger. Okay, squeeze your hand. Wretch. Exile Anger. And do I want to trade a Squirrel for the Squee and it's gone forever? Or do I want to trade a Wall of Blossoms for Squee and it's gone forever? I think it's Squirrel, because I'm not pushing meaningful damage here anyway. Squee, Goblin, Nabob. That also makes it better if they top deck Survival. I'm not instantly dead. Or they can't even do anything for a little while. Alright, they're back up to 11. I can overcome that life gain over time. Another elf. Just going to exile the rest of their graveyard, or the other creatures in the graveyard. That also sets me up for Living End. Pretty exciting. Or Living Death. This is the real one. Spike Weaver. Attack with my squirrelies. Do I need Withered Wretch anymore? I think it's exiled all the important cards, and I'm going to use it as a 2/2. Okay, they put Collar of the Claw in front of it, took the trade. And they still have Genesis in their deck. Llanowar Wastes, and what does the chain look like if I play Survival and pass? All right, I'm going to Survival pass, because if they destroy it first, then I can chain a bunch of stuff together. If I activate it first, then they can destroy it before I have a second creature in hand. Okay, they're still playing on empty over there. Played out the forest. I'll play chicken around the Survival forever. Like, I just need to draw a second creature, and this suddenly works for me. That wasn't a second creature. Attack with squirrels. We are washing each other out here. It's attack for 4, gain 4. And we're playing chicken around my Survival. And this morph could just be Birchlore Rangers, and they got my ass, and I'm playing around nothing, and I could have taken over this game. Okay, it was Vig. Okay, in response, Survival. Did they draw Naturalize? Is that why they did this? Get Squee. Survival away Squee for Genesis. Maybe they drew Graveyard Hate, and they're going to roast me. That would be sick. Yeah, if they just play like Tormod's Crypt after all this, that would be a sweet line. Genesis. Okay, do I want to filter some cards I don't want out of my deck? Do I want to make my graveyard into a toolbox? I think I want to filter some bad draws out of my deck, like Birds of Paradise. I just cycle that away. I just don't want to draw birds. It's cycling away all my birds, taking 2 damage to do it from my Llanowar Wastes, and then this next one is the last one. I could get Faceless Butcher to take out Well-wisher. I could get another Hermit. I guess Bone Shredder is better than that. Better than Butcher, because it gets rid of it for real. I also have Masticore. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, yeah, it's actually Masticore. All right, Masticore also gives me something to do with Squee, even though my Survival's dead. Okay, do you have the Mastermind Tormod's Crypt, or are we Done. Something's happening. Deranged Hermit. Okay. I'm okay with that one. And I think I just let Masticore cook here. Genesis would target Spike Weaver, if anything. But I'm going to get Squee back. Decline Genesis, play Masticore. And the land was actually a pretty good draw. Okay, Masticore, you're in there. Play out land number 6. Now I can do twice as much. Or not twice as much, but one more. Yeah, twice as much. 6 is twice 5. Okay, so this is symmetrical, which I'm realizing right now as I'm in combat. So maybe that attack wasn't ideal, but I hope it's okay. And I'm going to pass the turn and wait for them to activate Well-Wisher before I pick off their stuff. Okay. Deal 1 to Well-Wisher. They gain less life this way. Deal 1 to Hermit. And deal 1 to Bindhorn Elves as the unique elf on the battlefield. And then they gain 2 life. All right, here we go. Top deck mode versus my entire engine. And they're tapping out. Okay, so we had 2 games defined by who had survival and who didn't, and then 1 game in the middle where neither of us did, and we just kind of played cards and it was cool. Was that round 4? And we have a trophy match coming? Exciting. We're a few rounds into the video. If you're still here and having fun, remember to hit that subscribe button. And if you want to play what I'm playing, use code BOSH for 5% off your order at toamagic.com. Eternal lives here. I'm on the play in the final trophy round. I'm going to keep this hand that develops in cantrips. That's all I ever want to do in any game of Magic. Birds of Paradise. Opponent kept 7. A Flooded Strand. That's not Plains for Swords of Plowshares. Phyrexian Furnace is kind of annoying. Okay, so what I want to do here is play Wall of Blossoms and then Cabal Therapy my opponent without passing priority, therapy them again. What am I going to name here? Standstill? Gush? I'll name Standstill. Accumulated Knowledge, Mana Leak, another Furnace. Okay. I don't think I want to play against the second Furnace. Okay, Furnace exiles that. Phyrexian Furnace named. Okay, 1 down. An opponent will have to decide if they want to develop Fairy Conclave or Accumulated Knowledge or Hold Up Mana Leak. It's not that hard to decide, actually. Duress. I'll play out Forest so they can't Mana Leak my Duress. Duress you. Ooh, they drew a Tide. Gross. Pretty sure I don't want that card involved in the game. Parallax Tide is gone. And I think that their development is less important than mine. Like, I could put them in the position where if they Mana Leak my Wall of Blossoms, then they don't get to AK, but I would rather cantrip next turn than them not cantrip this turn. That can happen anytime. Fairy Conclave is in. Wall of Blossoms around the Mana Leak. Oh. That is a little risky. They're a deck with powerful permanents if they're the Blue-White Tide deck. And they hit another AK, as that tends to happen. Yeah, if they just put in like 3 lands in Tide, I'm not excited about that. Gaia's Cradle. What happens if I Tempting Worm here? I could die on the spot. I could have a 5/5. Those are the 2 things that could happen. All right. Don't tempt me with a good time. It resolves. Am I dead instantly? Okay, there's a bunch of lands. Their hand is now Mana Leak and no other things. That could be worse, I guess. And they've certainly developed lots of lands to the point where they could Dust Bowl me willy-nilly. But Dust Bowl killing Gaia's Cradle, whatever, I still have mana. Okay, let's hope they just brick off for exactly 4 turns. All right, played out an island. Tempting Worm might do it here. The Bone Shredder. This destroys target non-artifact, non-black creature. It is not optional, and it doesn't say that an opponent controls. So I would have to blow up my own Wall of Blossoms if I wanted to add 1 damage to the board. And I don't think I do. I don't think I want it that bad. Attack with Big Wormy. Play out the land that doesn't get targeted by Dust Bowl and pass. A second Fairy Conclave. A second Chump Blocker, you mean? I'm very good at drawing basic Forest, if you haven't heard. When it's a 9, the Furnace can be cycled off. They can exile a card from their own graveyard to draw a card at any point. They could also just draw Swords of Plowshares. Okay, cool. This Furnace is gone. Engine's back online. Coastal Tower into play tapped. Deck, please. My family is starving. I have mana to play around this mana leak with almost any spell in my entire deck. Okay, opponent is one worm hit away from death. They're being very patient before they start blocking. All right, here we go. That's a real one. I'm going to attack before I play my land or any spells because the chump block Dust Bowl you trick works. Like they could block, blow up one of my lands, get something on the way out, but if I don't have any things to target, that's not true. Okay, that's gone. And mana leak 1 unknown. I could pay for a leak, ramming out the Strange Hermit without playing the land. Done. All right, Hermit's in. And I guess I'll play the land. If they want to bowl me now, that's fine. Okay, it's Wrath of God or Bust here. Played Mishra's Factory, 1 unknown in the hand. And they're tapping out. Let's go. Nobody ever disrespect Tempting Worm in this house. Okay, I'm playing against Control. I like Greatborn Muse. Haven't gotten to bring that one in yet. We're playing against Parallax items, so naturalizers are coming in large numbers. I think I got away with that Tempting Worm, though with the amount of discard the deck plays, it's not completely insane. And the card was obviously good where it was good there. Sadistic Hypnotist. Is it time for that? I don't think so. Orangutan can bonk Phyrexian Furnaces if they have those in high numbers in the main. What am I not looking at? Like, Wall of Blossoms is good fodder for Cabal Therapy, but it's not a meaningful combat object here, so I don't need all of them. Bone Shredder's definitely out. Living Death could be a nice follow-up to Wrath of God, but it does play into Graveyard Hate, which is something I'm trying to avoid. Ravenous Bee is big, but the life is not important. I could bring in Engineered Plague to name... Are they soldiers that come out of Decree of Justice? That could be something where the game ends up. I'm thinking about this Tempting Worm so hard. I don't want to be results-oriented in that my YOLO Tempting Worm, because I had nothing else to do last game, happened to get there. Like, is this actually good, or was it okay in that one spot that I just experienced? Withered Wretch is good against Opalescence and Accumulated Knowledge. I think I do want exactly one copy of that. Duress and Therapy, both excellent. Masticore might not be that important. It dies to Wrath of God. Dies to Plow. They don't have a bunch of small creatures to kill. Maybe it's just another Wall of Blossoms that goes here. I do believe in Recurring Nightmare in a matchup this grindy. I am not going to mess around with the Engineered Plague. Oh, naming Fairy also turns off all their conclaves. There's some clever things to do with that, but I think they're exactly that clever, not necessarily good. All right, here I go. I'm trying it like this. Duress, love it. Keep this hand. Unfortunately, I am incentivized to Duress immediately because Standstill is such a beating, even though I'd prefer to Duress later when I want to resolve a spell. But I play enough counter spells that, or enough discard spells that should be okay. All right, leave you with Disenchant. Take the Tide. Take the AK, which just fuels the second one. But all right, I'm going to take the AK to try to slow down tempo. If they draw another one, that's devastating, but whatever. It keeps their hand the weirdest for the longest, which is what I'm trying to do. Okay, I now have enough mana to play Graveborn Muse when we get there. I hope, against hope, that I get to trigger Graveborn Muse in this league, because that is what I want to be doing with my life. All right, cool. I found something to do with mana. Withered Wretch. Exile that Accumulated Knowledge immediately. Nice. Get that out of there. Okay, I know 2 of the cards in hand. Parallax Tide is in. If they sandbag the Disenchant to try to exile all my lands next turn, that's not going to be good enough because I have this Naturalize, which I'm just going to use right now. They could use this to untap all their lands. Pretty cool. Yeah, I guess I should have attacked first. Premodern players in the comments already losing their minds. How could you miss 2 damage like that? You idiot. That's what you sound like. Hypothetical person in my comments. Okay. It will kill their Mishra's Factory, though. I would trade Withered Wretch for Mishra's Factory here. I'll take it. Okay, yeah. It turns out the thing I was worried about isn't even true. All right, I'm not running Survival into the Disenchant. Oh no, another one. All right, I'll exile their graveyard here while I can. Yeah, this might be troublesome if I lose all my lands this time around, which, okay, didn't work out how I wanted. I guess I'll try drawing 2 cards and attacking for 5 every turn and hoping that beats the opponent when I have no lands and they have as many as they want. The trick here is exile all of my lands, hold priority, destroy Parallax, tide, then my lands come back before they're ever exiled, then they're exiled forever. The opponent could put me in a tough spot here, but I'm hoping that drawing 2 cards a turn is good enough to get back out of it. But they do have to commit to that right now, and it taps them pretty low on a turn where I'd like to attack. All right, here we go. All right. The thing has happened. My lands are gone forever. I lose 2, draw 2 in my upkeep. And even if I lose this game, I am so excited that I got to do that in 2026. Trigger Graveborn Muses even once. All right. I'm offering the trade for Mishra's Factory. I think I'm okay with that. Well, I better be because I've committed to it. All right. I've got a 2/2. I did hit a land drop. Maybe I underestimated that and should have kept that going for longer. My next land plays Tempting Worm, though, and my opponent has 2 cards in their hand. My Naturalize is gone from my graveyard. Parallax Tide is gone from yours. Land? Oh my god. All right. I'm not going to play that before combat. I'm going to attack, see if they want to interact with Fairy Conclave. Then I jam Worm. I could play Survival as a distraction. If they have a counter spell, I would prefer one of my 3 survivals to get countered over my 1 worm. Annul, you got it. Mesmeric Fiend, not a creature I can play, which is a shame because it would be really good. Opponent's at 11 life. Survival. They're missing land drops, which means that their hand is counter spells. So I'm running these redundant survivals. The first 2 survivals can just be duress, and then after that, I kind of want it to be a survival. Wall of Roots. Attack for 2. Decree of Justice. Big enough to trade here. But I do get to slam Worm onto an empty board. They just drew 1 card at random. All right, here we go. Tempting Worm. Are you tempted? What's in Seal of Cleansing? Okay, that's fine. Okay, the next Parallax anything is a problem. But my opponent is Hellbent. Swords of Plowshare, sure. You got me. Time to develop. Just hit some mana, get this Hermit into play, and off we go. All right. Survival with 1 activation or get Wall of Roots in. I think I want the survival because if they use Seal of Cleansing on this, that's a spot that they have not put, or they have not set up a wave combo or a tide combo or whatever Parallax item they have. And I just don't think Mesmeric Fiend is going to be my plan this game. Okay, cycle off Mesmeric Fiend. Survivaling, or blowing up survival immediately. They should have let me tutor first. Because if I think, oh, I might get away with this, I'll take Squee. And then that doesn't actually happen. All right, Tempting Worm. You have 0 cards in your hand. The second one will do it. Or the second survival. I'll deal with that later. Worm me daddy. All right, here we go. The race is on. I got Mishra's Factory under control. I got the biggest creature in play. Standstill. That's brave as hell. And they could trade both of their lands for my Tempting Worm. I guess that might be good enough. This is pre-modern. Cards are pretty bad. But not with the mana they have up. That line doesn't work. Okay. Yeah, they just pass the turn. I think the line here is let them commit to the double block, and then when they go to buff the factory, disenchant it, or naturalize it, and then they draw 3 cards, but hopefully I get a blowout. And I think killing 2 creature lands is worth 3 cards here. All right, this is only 4. Here's the buff. Here's the trick. Naturalize. You draw 3 cards. You do have blue colorless open if you have Mana Leak or Swords to Plowshares. But I do have a second Naturalize as well. Accumulated Knowledge, just cycling for 1 in response. Deal. Okay, that was pretty sweet. Killed 2 creatures and got Standstill off the board. I could blow up Furnace here, though I think developing Survival's better. Because once I pass the turn, Wall of Roots will have an activation. I can turn Hermit into something else. AK for 2. That's all of them, right? I exiled 2 earlier. Nope, just 1. Must have been last game. White available. Is there anything that deals 1 damage? I don't think so. I could turn Hermit into Squee right now. Oh, but they have Furnace up. That's not even good. All right. Do I turn Hermit into anything? What do I have? I've used all my cool ones. Okay, I'm just going to go to my turn, I think. Cabal Therapy. I would like to attack with Tempting Worm and see what happens. When it goes to 1, it's what happens. That's crazy. I'm going to naturalize the Furnace and try to get some surviving going. They pop in response. No surprise there. Now I can Therapy twice if I'm willing to lose Wall of Roots, which I probably am. What am I worried about? Decree of Justice. I'll start there. Decree of Justice. That does a lot of blocking. We got one. There's a Stifle, a Wrath of God. All right. Decree of Justice gone. Wrath of God in hand would kill my Wall of Roots anyway. So yeah, let's take that. Wrath of God. Take that. And there's a Stifle. I guess I'm going to Survival for Squee now before they could stifle my Survival activation. They probably have to Chain of Vapor Worm this turn to be alive. They are gated on blue mana. All right, Chain of Vapor or Chump Block. Those are your choices. Chain of Vapor, I can just replay it too. Okay, this wakes up with Summoning Sickness, so they can't get it up to 5 even if they commit the whole board to it. Wall of Roots, is this worth a counterspell? Because it is worth multiple survivals. Discard Squee, is this worth a Stifle? I guess you could bounce Survival, but that's not your problem here. All right, Stifle confirmed, that's managed. All right, pass the turn. Here we go. I suspect my Worm... Oh, it didn't get chained in the end step. They're still hoping to draw actual removal for that. They have 1 unknown card over there. There's the chain. I will not be copying it. That does let me Survival right now. Stand still. Is there anything I can do with that? That was a really good draw. This game's awesome. All right, Stand Still is going to resolve. And is there any reason to get Genesis going right now? All right, I'm going to discard Worm. And I'm going to get Genesis. I would have to kill Wall of Roots to use it, so no thanks. Birds of Paradise. Counterspell is currently off. All right, here we go. I'm going to try to Recurring Nightmare Deranged Hermit into play right now while the Counterspell shield is down. Okay. Wrath of God now pretty important to my opponent's plan. I don't know how many of those they play. There's 1 in the graveyard already. Opponent's at literal 1. They have to kill all the creatures. Any one of them, any random squirrel getting through. Something like Humility doesn't help here. I still have 5/1/1s. We got the GGs in the chat. Those were GGs. Every single match of this league was awesome. And there it is. A little Premodern trophy with RecSur. Finding the one place in Magic the Gathering where you can play these 2 banned cards together. And they were dope. This is, I think, my 5th, maybe my 6th Premodern League I recorded. At the moment I'm recording this, I don't have any other Premodern planned, though I am recording this with almost 2 weeks left on the Premodern run, even though you're all going to see it closer to the end of the run. So who knows, I might get more requests. But in my experience playing the format so far, it seems like any deck that can reliably play its cards and execute a plan is viable. And the decks that struggle to execute a plan, or like if you deviate from 2 or fewer colors, it starts to get wonky. If you deviate from card quality, it starts to get wonky. And there's plenty of room to brew. There's lots of ways to play Premodern, especially if you were playing Magic in this era and it's nostalgic to you, which it is to me. If you don't have nostalgia for this, there's probably not a lot of appeal because the gameplay is just kind of objectively bad in certain ways compared to how modern Magic works. But I can both appreciate how different things matter, the rules of engagement matter, and although things are bad, air quotes, it's in some ways better because it makes you work harder for things or set up a plan 4 or 5 turns in advance, and it's not about just having turn 1 Oscillate Pride or ripping the Murktide region first or whatever it is that people are doing in other formats. It has its own identity, and there are things that are good and bad about it, and there's reasons to want to play it, and then there's reasons to want to leave it and go do something else. And I think it's just nice to have the ability to toggle. You can play Legacy sometimes and play Draft sometimes and play Premodern sometimes, and I think that will keep Magic fresh for you. You don't have to make any format you're playing or any deck you're playing your entire personality. That's how people burn out. But yeah, circling back to this deck, 2 colors, good interaction, a good game plan. My new best friend, Tempting Worm. I've probably made fun of this card a lot in the years. I definitely owned one of these that I opened in a pack when Onslaught was the new set, and I remember reading it and being like, why would I ever cast this? But if your opponent doesn't have creatures or scary permanents to put in, 2 mana 5/5 is a pretty good rate. Did I use every single creature in the deck? I did not cast Orangutan, and I don't think I actually ever paid 3 for Genesis, but I did board Orangutan in. I did put Genesis in my graveyard a number of times to give myself inevitability, and then I'm pretty sure every creature got a moment to shine. Otherwise, even Graveborn Muse triggered, drew me 2 cards, got me back into a game that I had just been waved out of. I might have attacked too aggressively and probably should have drawn like 10 cards that game off of that Graveborn Muse instead of trading it for a land immediately. But, you know, scoreboard. Oh, Sadistic Hypnotist. Sorry, buddy. You're the one who didn't get love this time around. I feel myself starting to ramble. I'm going to wrap this up. Premodern, pretty cool. This deck, pretty cool. I did order 2 Recurring Nightmares in between rounds. Like after round 3, I was just over on TOAmagic.com using code BOSH for 5% off, buying Recurring Nightmares in case I wanted to play this deck someday. I'm a believer. Ben, thanks for sharing it. Everyone, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, check out the Patreon to support the channel, and I'll see you next time.